Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on The Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer. Homer's The Iliad follows the battle between the Greeks and the Trojans, while Homer's The Odyssey follows Odysseus, who is trying to return home after the war with Troy, but he keeps getting deterred by gods and monsters. So, you guys, this particular review, it's not so much going to be like this in-depth review of the Iliad and the Odyssey, because the Iliad and the Odyssey they're two books that I have read in the past. Like, I read the Odyssey back in high school, I read the Iliad during college, and yeah, this particular review is not going to be like something in-depth, and I'm going to be talking about the themes and whatnot. I'm just kind of doing this review mostly as a retrospective, I guess, if that makes sense. And I think something in particular I wanted to do with this review is that I kind of wanted to express kind of a problem I had while reading these two books. Like I said, the Odyssey is the first thing I read. I read that back in high school, and yeah, I want to say I read it again sometime in college. And I remember freaking loving the Odyssey, you guys. And then yeah, I didn't read all of the Iliad in college, because I took like a world literature class in college. And yeah, we didn't read the complete Iliad, because I think even my teacher was saying the Iliad, it's a bit too long for us to read here in class, and we're going to read snippets of it. So yeah, I definitely remember reading a heavily condensed version of the Iliad. But yes, something I noticed, you guys, when I was going through my reread of this particular edition, which, by the way, this is a gorgeous edition, you guys. Here, before I get going with the review, let's focus on this. A beautiful cover. You got the gold pages, shiny. And then, yeah, this gorgeous background. I love the blue. Oh my goodness. And yeah, the siding. Just a gorgeous edition. This is a Barnes & Noble leather-bound edition. But yeah, like I said, something in particular I noticed with my reread, if you will, of these two particular books is that I came to the realization that I think I have fantasized the Trojan War and fantasized what I remember about the Odyssey. So let me explain what I mean about that. I guess starting with the Odyssey, because the Odyssey is what I read, even because, yeah, in the context of the book, you're supposed to read the Iliad first and then the Odyssey, which is how I reread it. But yeah, I guess just starting with the Odyssey first, since I read that initially in high school before college, like I said, I love the Odyssey. But I'm beginning to suspect that I think I read a heavily condensed version of the Odyssey as well. And I don't understand. It's like my brain has been telling me something different all these years. And yeah, I read the Odyssey, and there's like all this beginning intro stuff. You start off with Odysseus' son Telemachus, and I was sitting there reading, and I was like, I don't remember Telemachus at the beginning of this story, because to me, like I said, I think I have fantasized my love of the Odyssey in some ways, because I think the entire time I thought the Odyssey was literally Odysseus's Odyssey, if you will. After the Trojan War, and then him going to, island after island, location after location, and him just getting detoured every stop and turn. Either by gods, or monsters, or other humans. And so, yeah, this entire time, I thought the Odyssey was just Odysseus' journey, his Odyssey, from place to place. But no, there's a whole beginning section that's pretty lengthy, where you're following Telemachus, and yeah, the suitors, Penelope's suitors, the men who come into Odysseus' household, and they're trying to woo and seduce his wife Penelope, and yeah, Penelope, doing the thing with the weaving, but unstitching the weaving, because she tells the man, oh, once I'm done with this quilt, or whatever the hell she's making, once I'm done with this, then I'll choose a man to marry. I thought all of that was like at the end of the book, at the end of the story, but no, a lot of it is actually at the beginning, with Penelope, and then yeah, a huge chunk of a journey with Telemachus, and yeah, Menelaus and Helen of Troy, well, not Helen of Troy anymore, Helen of Sparta once again. Yeah, Menelaus and Helen have a whole chunk at the beginning as well, and like I said, I have fantasized the Odyssey, what I think the story of the Odyssey was, because I just thought it was about Odysseus, but it's not. And yet the same kind of goes with the Iliad. You know, the problem with the Iliad is it has a lot to do with pop culture, you guys. There's the Troy movie that starred Brad Pitt. There's a Helen of Troy miniseries that I think that aired back in the late 90s or either early 2000s, because I remember that had Rufus Sewell in it, because I think he was playing Agamemnon. Yeah, there was that Helen of Troy miniseries. There was a recent Troy series that it was a joint BBC Netflix thing. Yeah, there was that. There's been numerous retellings of the Trojan War, and the thing is, all because of pop culture, I have a certain depiction of the Trojan War in my head, and a certain way I look at particular characters. Because thanks to pop culture, you know, like Helen of Troy especially, Helen of Troy through pop culture has often been depicted as, you know, a woman who she had enough with her marriage. That's why she ran away from Menelaus. And yeah, you know, the whole war is sparked because of that. But yeah, she's depicted as a very headstrong, independent woman. But then, yeah, you get to something like the Iliad by Homer, and oh boy, is it very sexist. Ooh, when it comes to poor freaking Helen of Troy, it is so very sexist, you guys. And it's not just the Iliad, because like I said, even in the Odyssey, Helen makes an appearance in the Odyssey, which I had no clue she did. As many times as I have read the Odyssey, apparently I've never been reading the proper version of the Odyssey. But yeah, ooh, the sexist depiction by Homer of Helen, because Helen is treated, she's slut-shamed essentially. She's treated like a horrible human being. And yeah, everybody hates her. And yeah, I almost get the opinion that, like, even Paris, you know, Paris, he's the one who kidnapped Helen, or kidnapped, if you will, because, you know, in most pop culture adaptations, Helen is not kidnapped by Paris. She's, you know, she goes of her own free will, and yeah, it's a mutual thing between her and Paris, but yeah, it's almost more suggested like Paris does kidnap her. But yeah, Helen is treated despicably in both of these books, and yeah, oh my god, especially in the Odyssey, when she's sitting there talking to Telemachus and Menelaus at one point, and yeah, she's sitting there like, oh, me, a terrible woman, I should have known my rightful place and who my rightful master was, and this and that, and it's like, oh, stop, oh my god, seriously. And don't get me started, it's not just Helen of Troy either. Let's refocus back on the Iliad. You know, I was under the assumption, you know, like I said, even though I read a very heavily condensed version of the Iliad in college, the thing is, why the hell do I think that we have, you know, when Paris and Helen run away together, you know, why do I have that image in my head? Why do I have the image of Achilles dying? Because Achilles does die in the Iliad at some, well, not in the Iliad, we'll talk about that in a minute. Achilles does die during the Trojan War. Yeah, there's the Trojan horse, but yeah, none of that is in the Iliad, you guys. You don't have Helen and Paris running away together. You don't have the death of Achilles. You don't have the Trojan horse. There's a lot of shit that doesn't happen in the Iliad. But for some reason, I've always been under the assumption that the Iliad has all of that in there. But no. You know what the Iliad is about? The Iliad is strictly about, like, the battles. That's all it is. It's all of the bloody, gory details of the battles and all of the men. And even worse, you guys, even worse, which drives me crazy. Once again, this is thanks to pop culture. The characters of, like, Agamemnon and Menelaus, they're depicted as these heroes of the Greeks, you know? Now, Achilles has always been, to me, Achilles has always been like an anti-hero, you know? But even in the Iliad, Achilles is treated like a hero, whereas I see him more as an anti-hero. So, yeah. And yeah, the Trojans are seen more as the villains, and to me, once again, this is through pop culture. I have always seen the Trojans as the more heroic characters, and, you know, Agamemnon and Menelaus, I have seen them as the despicable villains of the story. And yeah, like Hector is seen as a villain, Paris is a villain, Priam is a villain, and yet where the Iliad ends, the Iliad ends at the funeral of Hector. That's the end. There's no damn Trojan horse, you guys. So, yeah, that's what I was talking about when I mentioned at the top of this review that this video was not going to so much be a review about the Iliad and the Odyssey. It's going to be more of a retrospective. And how I think I have fantasized the Iliad / the Trojan War and the Odyssey. Because through this reading, I was just like, I did not know this was in the book. I did not know this was left out of the book. Is it just me? Maybe I'm just ignorant. I don't know. And like I mentioned, I think this is a pop culture problem because of the numerous book adaptations, movies, TV series. I have developed a certain way of viewing the Trojan War. You know what I mean? And that heavily conflicted with what I read in this book, and it kind of threw me off, and I was very shocked. So the thing is though, I still enjoyed reading this, you know, because the Iliad and the Odyssey, I mean, if you love Greek literature, classic Greek mythology in a sense, if you love that type of stuff, the Iliad and the Odyssey is a must, you know? You must read the Iliad and the Odyssey. You know, if you take away all the sexism, the sexism is a huge negative, which I don't think I ever realized was in there, to be quite honest. If you take away all the sexism, the thing is, it is still wonderfully written. You know, the story is still, it's still wonderfully written. It's classic material, and it's the things that happen in these books. I mean, they're very iconic. The characters are very iconic. So I did, despite me just being terribly confused and questioning everything I thought I knew about the Iliad and the Odyssey. The thing is, I still enjoyed this. You know, I still highly enjoyed this. I felt like I read through them quickly. I definitely admire Homer's way of writing, you know, because he gives you all those gory little details, you know. If you're squeamish, his writing may not be for you, because, yeah, he'll sit and describe that a spear went through somebody's eye socket, or it went through their chest and up into their heart. You know, he gives you all the graphic, gory little bloody details, and it's kind of great, because, you know, a lot of classic literature, you know, you sit and get into like the Victorians or the Regency era or whatever, and yeah, you don't get blood and gore like that. But yeah, Homer gives you all that blood and gore. So yeah, you guys, I don't know what else to say about this video. You all may be thinking, good lord, Stacy's done lost her mind. So you guys, I guess my question with this video, do you understand what I'm trying to get at? Have any of you reread the Iliad and the Odyssey in recent years, especially if you read it a long time ago and you've been influenced by media, essentially? How has your reading of the Iliad and the Odyssey changed because of pop culture, essentially? Because yeah, pop culture has apparently changed how I feel about the Iliad and the Odyssey. So yeah, you guys, do you guys enjoy the Iliad and the Odyssey? Let me know your thoughts down below. So if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out these other videos. Bye guys.